Hello everyone. How is everyone doing? Welcome to the final workshop of the Encode and Stellar Educate series. Lovely to see you all again. Please say hello in the chat. I'm very glad that everyone could join us again for our last series or our last workshop in this series. And thank you especially to everyone that has joined us throughout this 4-workshop series. I can see very much familiar faces in the audience, so I really appreciate you sticking around through the whole thing. And we have another very exciting workshop in store for you today, so please do prepare yourselves for that, and hopefully we can end this series on a high. But yeah, before we get started, I think we will just let a few more people flood into the room. I can see a few more people joining. So no one misses anything. I'll give them one last chance and then we'll be able to get started. But yeah, as we always do, please feel free to introduce yourself in the chat, where you're from. It's always nice. And even you guys, I imagine in the chat, are probably able to recognize each other, even if we're not able to see each other physically. It's nice that we have this lovely virtual community. And yes, no problem, Mateus. I'm very happy to be able to host these again. And yeah, you're in for another treat today with a very exciting workshop planned. Yeah, I think we'll be able to get started now. I can see the numbers stabilizing a little bit, so it seems like we are ready to go, and I don't want to keep you waiting from hearing from BG, who will be leading our workshop later on, but I will be giving a proper introduction in good course. So yeah, just to start again, I'm very excited for today's episode, and I think this is it's been a very big week for Stellar in general. So this workshop is coming at an exciting and very relevant time. So as you all probably know, on February the 20th, the Stellar Network Validators voted to upgrade the mainnet to Protocol 20. So this really has kickstarted a new area for the Stellar smart contracts tech stack. And this will be a phased approach. So it'll give the chance for network participants and time to monitor the smart contracts functionality over time. But really what this means for you is that it's a perfect time to be learning about Stellar and really be one of the pioneers that start building on the mainnet very, very soon. So as this is the final workshop in our series, I thought it would be best to give a brief overview of what we've been doing over the past 3 weeks, or now into the 4th week. And for anyone that's missed an episode, hopefully this gives you an idea of what we've been doing. So I hope you can see by now that there has been a sort of progression between the different workshops, which I've tried to visualize here. So we started proceedings with an introductory workshop to Stellar and Soroban, which was led by Omji Park, so Encode Club's head of research and operations. And we mainly looked at Stellar. We looked at things such as its proof of agreement consensus mechanism and the Stellar stack. We also delved into Soroban. So as you all should be aware now, it's a Rust-based smart contract platform which integrates and works alongside the existing Stellar blockchain. And this was a great platform to set us up for a fun session with Morgan and building things with Akashi in our 2nd week. And Akashi is a revolutionary smart contract built for Soroban. This was a slightly more technical workshop compared to our first one, and hopefully this made you see how you can use Rust to write Soroban smart contracts and deploy them onto Stellar. And this really gave us more tools to be able to attack the third workshop, which was developing your first dApp on Stellar using Soroban. And here this was led by Julian from the Stellar Development Foundation. So everyone was given the chance to follow on live and build their first app, which is very, very exciting. And a unique challenge, I imagine, for people that have never done this before. But I hope as many of you as possible were able to follow along live. And so that does bring us very nicely to our 4th and final workshop. And we'll be hearing from BG from SubQuery. He has purposely kind of built his workshop on top of the previous one. So for those of you that were here last week, this will be perfect. Even if you weren't here last week, I still think that you'll be able to follow along well, and I'm sure BG will be able to give some context to what he's explaining. And as we kind of built a dApp incrementer on the first workshop with Julian, we're now kind of looking at app efficiencies. So this will be a virtual workshop on data indexing. And I would like to invite now BG from to the stage, who will be able to take a leading role in his workshop. So yeah, that will take just a brief moment, but I hope that was a useful overview for everyone that has been joining us or hasn't been joining us and just needed to understand. All of our workshops are recorded, including this one. So please do check out our recordings afterwards if you wanted to refresh on any details. Hello, BG.
Hey, Michael. Excited to be here.
Yeah, very, very happy to have you. Please take it away when you're ready. You should be able to share your screen.
All right, sounds good. So let me actually start with a small introduction. Again, thanks a lot for inviting us here to talk. So yeah, the idea of this workshop was to make a special custom indexer to the given example, just Michael was previously saying, and show you the capabilities of the indexer, or maybe answer the question, why would you need an indexer in the first place? So this is what I'll be starting with. All right, so what is SubQuery? Think of the decentralized application. No, try to think of like any decentralized application that is working with any time series. For instance, I mean, think of any wallet, and every wallet is having a functionality of displaying the list of transactions that were done in the past by a certain user. And in order for you to develop a wallet so that this use case is covered, you need to get those transactions somehow. And unfortunately, usually with many blockchain or smart contracts, it's not possible to have such a method to query like all the transactions all together for the past blocks from any node. Otherwise, like, yeah, it's just because it's computationally really expensive, and that's just like one of the million use cases we can think of. It's just like a really simple, and if you think of any like statistical application which collects the macroeconomic parameters for the whole protocol, I mean, that's the same story. You should get this data somehow in the first place. So that's what you're using the indexes for. So indexer is a middleware that is indexing the blocks according to certain rules. It passes data from there, it handles it somehow, and saves it in a database so that consequently this data is served by an API. There are different API types, but SubQuery is using GraphQL. So in essence, SubQuery is a end-to-end blockchain solution. So what is implied by that? So in the core of SubQuery, there is a open source data indexer itself. So it's a open source SDK that helps to build an indexer. It's completely local setup friendly. It works with Docker, and at some point of time, you would probably develop your project. You would run it locally. You would validate that it's working correctly. And once it's done, you would be probably interested in hosting it somewhere and plugging the decentralized applications to it so that they're powered by data. And at that moment, you'll essentially have actually three options. So the first option, since SubQuery is an open source project that is Docker friendly. You can launch it in your favorite cloud. You can host it. Anyway, in addition, there is a alternative, a managed services, also developed by SubQuery team, which is essentially a cloud for SubQuery projects. It's much easier to set up your project there. It's easy to do the configuration. There are a lot of plans and etc. So it's like a easy to use cloud for SubQuery. And the third option is a decentralized marketplace, essentially a decentralized cloud for SubQuery indexer. That's not going to be a topic of today's workshop because the system is really sophisticated, hard, and complex. So it's having its own set of factors. So be sure to check out more details on the official website. So why SubQuery? From many reasons and many advantages of SubQuery SDK. First of all, it's completely open source, even requirements are being discussed in GitHub, so it's easy to affect the development and make obviously the forks of SubQuery. It's easy to use, it's completely Docker friendly, and I'm going to be showing you a demo a little bit later on. It's simple because eventually you only have to configure 3 types of files, which I'll also be covering during the demo. It's customizable. So every SubQuery project is a TypeScript project. So and eventually you're getting the flexibility for the development from the language TypeScript. It's really fast. One of the recent updates, according to benchmarks, improved the indexing speed like 3 times, actually almost 4 times. It was 3.8. So, and yeah, it's not even the limit. We're still working on the performance. It's feature rich, so it's having its own set of features running under the hood, including real-time support. So instead of polling a API, you can connect to it via a WebSocket and receive your data in real time. The other cool new feature is multi-chain. So from a single project, you can actually connect to several different heterogeneous project ecosystems and serve this data again from a single project. So let's say you're trying to build a bridge, which or you're trying to build it out for any cross-chain protocol, and it obviously implies that you would probably want to track the transactions that are cross-chain. So for that, you will have to make simultaneous connection to both source and target chains. And with SubQuery, it's possible to set it up from a single project so that you can index this data and store it within a centralized database and serve it from there, again, from a single API endpoint. So it is also really flexible. You can not only you can have a deterministic logic in your project. What I imply by that? So obviously blockchains are immutable. So if you run your project on top of blockchain with certain configuration, certain handling logic, it will not, the data will be the same like with every run of the projects. So it's deterministic by default, but you can also use the third-party libraries within your projects as well. So let's say you're trying to build something like a, price predictor, and for that case, you're interested in fetching the prices from some of the APIs that are already present. So you're able to do it from from your SubQuery project as well. and it's compatible. Finally, it's compatible with more than 150 chains, including Stella and Soroban. So in order for you to run SubQuery, there have to be several prerequisites to be completed, including Node.js installed, Docker in case you're interested in running your project in Docker, and CLI. So 3 steps, 3 files to configure: schema file, manifest file, mappings file. I'll be gradually transitioning to a demo part, which is, as I previously said, is customized to a previous example. So I must admit I'm a complete novice in Soroban. So essentially, I took the code of the smart contract and just launched it from Okashi. And that was the simplest thing to do. So yeah, it's this is exactly the same code that was used during the previous workshop, but it was deployed from here. And once it was deployed, by the way, it was deployed to FutureNet. Also, an increment function was called several times. So here it's called with 3 as a parameter in data. Then it was called with 8, and then it was called with 23. So the goal of this workshop is to index those events and I don't know, do some operations with it, such as, I don't know, count the amount of unique data parameters, for instance. So that's the goal. Before I switch to demo, I actually wanted to show you a smart contract address. This is the one. This is the one that we'll be filtering our data fetching from. So I found it in the operations details. So we'll be filtering by it. So as you can see, it finishes with PLAR. All right. All right, somebody solve. Let's just jump to the demo. All right, yeah, that's the time for a demo. Maybe you have any questions now before I switch to a practical part of the workshop?
I don't see any questions right now, but yes, everyone, please do feel free to push your questions in the chat. We will get to them at some point. If not now, later on.
Sounds good. All right. So you should be able to see my VS Code now. What to start with? I'm going to be starting with the by showing you how easy it is to like get started with SubQuery. So if you completed the prerequisites and downloaded all the dependencies, you would be able to create your scaffold project from a command line. For that, you simply need to type .init. Once you press the button, you select the project name, and here you will be able to see a list of templates. So as was previously mentioning, there are several networks family that are being supported, including Stella. So, and also there are templates prepared for Stella. There is a template for testnet and template for FutureNet. So since those will require some time to be downloaded, I will press my enter button here, and instead I already have the project prepared for you. So we can proceed with that. So I was previously mentioning that it's really easy to configure a project, and essentially there are 3 types of files that will have to be configured. And the first type of file is a GraphQL schema. So schema is essentially it's a schema that will be used to design the API. So here you set all your data points that will be queryable. So think of it as a table in the database. So for the simplicity's sake, I'm only leaving a single entity increment, and this will be the only data point that is queryable. The second file to configure is a manifest file. So it's usually called project.ts. For multi-chain projects, it's called differently. Essentially, this file is used for the manifestation of data primitives that you want to be calling from blockchain, and manifestation of the functions like to which you would like to be passing those primitives to. So trying probably to explain it in the simple form. As you can see, there's a handlers up event handler kind. So what does it mean? So it means that we're telling the indexer to connect to a chain and index only the events. The events of smart contract with such an address. And once the event is found, it will be passed to a function handle event. So that's it. And where do we find the handle event function? We find those in a third types of files, which are called mapping files. And those are used to, again, get this primitive data and handle it somehow, store it consequently to a database and make it queryable. So here's a short code snippet with a single handler called handle event, which is accepting a event as a argument and doing some stuff with it. What exactly is it doing in our case? So first of all, it's checking its type. Due to the Soroban and Stellar architecture, there are, apart from a single contract type events, there are a lot of diagnostic events which we're not interested in. So we're only filtering the events with a contract type. Then we are previewing the whole body of the event, essentially this stuff. Essentially the stuff from the event, like all its topics and data. And finally, we just save it to a object and increment entity, which we've previously manifested in a schema file. So once it's saved, it's queryable. So we're saving it here. Actually, it's synchronous, should be called correctly. And what exactly are we saving? As an ID, we're passing the transaction hash, and as a new value, we're just passing the value parameter of the events. So in our case, those are just numbers 3, 5, 8, and etc. Also, coming back to a previous types of files, to a manifest file, apart from the handlers themselves, there is a start block to configure. So essentially a block from which the indexer will be starting its indexing process, as well as the networks configurations such as endpoints, chain IDs, and etc. So at this point of time, we are ready to launch a project locally. So let me actually tell a little bit more about like the architectural decisions behind the project. So every SubQuery project is a TypeScript project. So there are many reasons why TypeScript was used as a primary language for the development, and obviously the biggest advantage is a type safety. So with TypeScript, you're getting the type safety, and as you can see, I'm having a bunch of types here. So once I'm having my project developed, I can be sure that it's working just because it's TypeScript. So that's pretty cool. So what we'll be doing now we'll be launching a project locally in Docker. So all the Docker files prepared in advance. So essentially we're running 3 components. We're running a database, we're running a index itself, and finally we're running a GraphQL engine, which is going to be a essentially query engine to fetch all the requests coming from the applications. So it's really easy to launch a project. There is a actually delete. There is a there's a script called def, which essentially combines 3 steps. First is generates the types, then it builds the project, and finally it launches the project in via Docker Compose. So once it's launched, it's creating the data folder, which I've just deleted, and it's just being populated with index data and saved according to the rules we have here. So if I simply type yarn def, the project should be running. It takes some time to launch. All right, hopefully without any issues. Yeah, I'm seeing some good logs here. Right. As you can see, indexer started to enqueue the blocks. So here we see which block exactly is being handled now. And we're also seeing that it actually found the events that we were trying to filter by and their values. So if I switch back now with Docker to my browser, I would be able to query this data. So it's not like that. Nodes ID and new values. So as you can see, the schema is exactly the same that was manifested in a schema file. As an ID, there is a transaction ID passed. As a new value, there is a new value of increment event being stored. So, this is something that you cannot get from a single request to a node. So obviously there should be something like a middleware / indexer that does it for you, and then you query it. And with that data, you can do a lot of stuff. So this query is calculating the amount of unique new values and groups them by the value. So as we can see here, from the result, we can see that there is a single event with the parameter 3 called. Same goes for parameter 8 and etc. So those are all the events that I was creating previously. And this is the purpose of the indexer. And once you're having an understanding of the fundamental parts of smart contracts of Soroban and the process of indexer configuration, essentially you can index anything. You can combine the event data with transactions data, operations, and much more. So that's it for the demo part. I'll be happy to answer any questions if there are any. Michael?
Yeah, I do see a couple of questions in the chat. So I have one from Hitesh, who is asking, how can we index Stellar Soroban contract events in the SubQuery project?
Oh, yeah, that's simple. So I was just showing an example how to do it. Also, you can check out the Academy, the academy.subquery.network, the official technical documentation hub, which includes the quick start guide covering specifically the event handlers. So be sure to check it out.
Amazing, yeah. I guess they asked this, I think, a little bit before, so they didn't necessarily know that you're going to answer your question later on. But Hitesh has asked another question that is, if I want any specific event data, where do I need to put that event?
If I want, well, it depends on the logic of your smart contract. So here, those events are being emitted like as part of the execution of a certain function increment in our case, and those events are having first of all the count short message, then increment, and finally a pass parameter itself. So depending on your project, you should decide how exactly you want to design the events so that the decentralized applications are comfortable with querying it in the future via indexer. So it's really case specific, really case specific.
Yeah, thank you for asking that. And our next question is, from where would transactions data be coming from?
From the blockchain itself. So, well, once you're calling any function here in a smart contract, you're doing it like via a transaction. So you're having a certain transaction to call something. Once the method is called, this logic here is being executed. So method is called, and at some point the event is emitted. So essentially, you're having a connection between a smart contract and an event. So, and this is something that you're seeing here in every block explorer, and you can get this data like directly. You can directly handle a transaction, or you can handle an event and then access transaction from the event. SubQuery SDK allows you to do it. So it's supports the connection of those primitives.
Thank you for answering that.
All right.
We still have a couple more coming through. So how would I get transaction data for a particular method call? For example, fee paid for execution.
There are filters for transactions, and those filters are configurable in a manifest file. So just like I had a filter for a contract ID to handle data from, you can have a filter to have a transaction only with a certain type. And you can read more about it. You can read the details in the Academy. Okay, actually, let me put up. Here's this academy that I'm referencing, and in a manifest file configuration in Stella, you can find all the specification. You can find the whole specification of a Stella contract. So yeah, that's a single source of truth knowledge base. Hopefully, I answered the question. Let me know.
Amazing. I've shared a link to SubQuery Academy in the chat for people to be able to check it out. So yeah, I think they were also asking would the audience also be able to get a link to this repo? Is it a public one?
Oh, actually, the code that I've been showing is not published, so I'm going to be publishing it a little bit later. But I can also show you a link to a template. I mean, yeah, if you download SubQuery CLI, you can access those templates from CLI. But I can also drop you a link to the different templates as well. All right, I've just sent a link.
Amazing, thank you. I can see that I think Mateus answered his own question, so I'm going to skip that one if he's already clarified it for himself, and move on to his next one, which is the indexer working off from Horizon or the RPC server?
It supports both. So this particular one that I've been showing, let me check. Yeah, it's based on the Horizon.
Okay, great. I think another question actually. Given Soroban contracts can include metadata, is there a tool to extract this data and perhaps make it easier, faster to come up with the manifest file?
Well, as long as something is on chain, it is extractable. So I'm not really familiar with the data storage of metadata, but if it is on chain, then definitely it is extractable, and you can even make like something a dynamic data source of it. So I don't know, giving probably a reference to another example. So imagine you're having a smart contract that is creating and deploying a new smart contract, and think of it like a factory smart contract. And at some point of time, you would probably be interested to like those contracts and handle their data as well. So let's call it dynamic template, and I think that's something that could also be applicable to a metadata, but only as long as metadata is stored on chain. So yeah. I hope I answered the question.
Amazing. Yeah, I think you answered it very well. So we have another question, which is what is a manifest? Oh, Mateus has already answered it, but maybe it's helpful for your input. How would you explain what is a manifest file?
All right. Manifest file. So that's probably a bad slide to explain it once again. So manifest file is a file to configure your endpoints and filters. So there are 3 steps. First, you are there's a schema file that is a manifest that is a schema that will be queryable. So this is a API schema essentially. Think of it as a REST API. And the second is a manifest file to configure your endpoints and filters, so that you are so you're telling the indexer specifically where to look and what to look for, whether those are the blocks, transactions, or events. And a third file, a mapping file, is just a connection of first two file types. So it's taking the raw original primitive like event, doing some stuff with it, and save it as a schema file entity so that it's queryable then. So and once it's saved, it can be queried by the decentralized applications. Hope I explained it better now.
Yeah, I'm sure that you've clarified that question for him. And another question from Mateus is, will there be a Rust SDK for this in the future?
Wow, that's a tricky question, actually. So yeah, we also, obviously, we're concerned about the performance, and given the amounts of blocks that are only growing in size, it would be really wise to replace some of the core components with more performant solutions, such as those based on Rust. I'm not having the specifics now of what exactly may be replaced or can be replaced, or what will be replaced eventually. But that's something. But that's definitely something that the dev team is looking into.
Okay, great. Thank you for answering all of those questions. I believe that's all we have in the chat for now. If you want to carry on with your presentation, and then I'm sure that people will think of more things while you're presenting.
What are you going to say during the beginning?
All right. Oh yeah, definitely. Of course, yeah. SubQuery is completely open source. We accept any contributions. We also have a development guide. So it's something like a grant system. You can get paid for your contributions, and since the whole SDK is open source, not only the indexer but also the other components such as, I don't know, GraphQL, Server, essentially everything. Obviously, you can make a fork and work on the Rust SDK. Again, you shouldn't probably re-engineer the whole solution to Rust. Probably just some critical components, but that would be really valuable to explore the possibilities of the performance improvement. Yeah, definitely. There is an additional question from one guy. Is it possible for a smart contract to access and make transactions on Stellar Wallet? Yeah, I think so. Again, I'm not really an expert in Soroban, but I'm pretty sure it's covered. And obviously, if it's covered by Soroban, it can be covered by SubQuery as well.
Yeah, I think we've got to the end of the questions in chat. Please do keep them coming, guys. This is your last 10 minutes with BG, so please do make use of the opportunity. It's not very often that you get the chance to answer these sort of questions live. So after that, you'll just have to watch the recording back, unfortunately. Obviously, you'll be able to contact BG, but it might not be as simple. So yeah, please do keep the questions coming.
All right. Yeah, I just wanted to say that we're having a huge community in Discord, and obviously we're also happy to do any support if you have any specific questions regarding your projects that you're developing. So be sure to ask them in Discord, and yeah, you'll be giving the answers promptly. How hard is it to work with Stellar versus Nia when it comes to indexes? Well, it doesn't really depend on indexes, I think, because like what indexes eventually do, they're just like they're just wrapping their types on top of the primitives of the network itself. So if it's hard to work with a certain network, it would probably be also hard to make a indexer for it, just because of the lack of, I don't know, some connections between the primitives. So for instance, here in Stellar, we're having a really good connection. So there is a transaction. A transaction may have several operations, and may have several events. There is an event that could be accessed from transactions, which also is connected to operations. So we can like connect it from an SDK, just because Stellar allows us to do it, but some network may not allow do it. The question was towards hearing your war story about implementation. Oh, right. I mean, SubQuery is not hard to develop on top of in the first place, so I've never really had issues with developing any projects. So probably the interesting things to explore are the multi-chain projects, because from a single project you would have to first of all, you will have to have a separate dependency set for each ecosystem that you're planning to connect to from this single protocol. Again, from a single project, you can connect to multiple chains, and those chains could be of several types. It could be one for NIA, one for EVM, and the third one for Stellar, for instance. So you'll have to carry all those dependencies. Then you'll have to configure a manifest file. In fact, you'll have to configure a single manifest file for any single network that you're planning to have featured in your project. So at some point of time, that may become a little bit messy. At some point of time, you may end up having several TypeScript files with several dependencies and several, obviously, several types for several networks. But it doesn't really make the things more complex. It's just like regular development problems. So once you're having your project grow and you're having more code, it's just harder to get oriented. That's it. So I'm not having these specifics about the complexity of development on some particular networks. All right. I hope I answered gave a broad answer.
Yeah. No, you're doing amazing so far, and thank you very much for answering everyone's question. We still have like a little bit of time if people have their final questions that you want to get out. But yeah, thank you very much so far for your time, BG. I think everyone's really appreciates it, and it's SubQuery is an amazing platform, and I think it's been a great learning experience for everyone to kind of come at the end after kind of already establishing a little bit of context to Stellar and Soroban, and now your workshop has been the perfect supplement to that.
All right. Thanks for the great questions. Those were really cool.
So yeah, I can see you've added a QR code. So please, I'll give people time to scan that before I will share my presentation and kind of give a few final words.
All right.
But yeah, I hope everyone has enjoyed today and really enjoyed the series. These past 4 weeks have really flown by. And yeah, it's slightly sad that we're now at the end of our workshop series. But it has really been an amazing one. And our thanks really has to go to the speakers of all these workshops. So in this case, to you, BG, for giving up a little bit of your time. And thank you also everyone in the chat. You've been really engaged today, and I really appreciate you kind of answering loads of questions, making them really most use of this time. And I hope that has been valuable for you as well. I will share my screen now and just run over a few details that I'd like to share with you before we wrap up proceedings. It's being a little slow, but just allow me a minute.
In the meantime, probably I can answer an additional question there, how to proceed to contribute to SubQuery project. So there is a GitHub, and you can check out the code and follow from that. And yes, we'll be on if Denver, not me specifically, but be sure to catch up with the team there.
Yes. I will be explaining a little bit more on East End at the end, but yeah.
Sorry for that. Sorry for spoiling.
No, no worries. It's the perfect segue into that. But yeah, before that, I just have a couple of things that I wanted to run by everyone today. So I have a few more QR codes that it would be great if you guys could scan now. So congratulations for making this far. You can all now claim actually your NFT. So please do make use of that. It's used like so. So yeah, you can claim your NFT certificate. You'll need to provide a wallet address on Polygon mainnet, and then we'll mint it and send it over for free. So please do get involved in that and make use of it. I will also be sending these links out afterwards, so don't worry if you don't quite catch it now. But please do look out for that and make sure that you complete it. And also, like, we really respect kind of honest feedback about our workshops. I think we've had a great series of workshops, but there's always ways that we can work and improve that, and we'd love to speak to you and hear about what you would like to hear from us. And hopefully that means we can cater our workshops for you next time in terms of you hearing what you want, and that enables us also to build upon what we've already seen. So yeah, please do make use of that. And I will also add these two links to the chat in case you're not able to scan them right now. So yeah, the first one will be the link for the feedback form, and then the second one will be for the NFT form. And yes, as DG said, we will be in Denver. I will also be there in person. So I'm very, very excited for that. And we have kind of amazing couple of days in store. So Encode Club will have its own hacker house, and there will be a Stellar Herdao Soroban Day, which will be hosted by Encode Club. This will be on the 28th of February. But we will be in Denver between the 26th and the 29th. And yeah, there will be lots of exclusive workshops, lots of amazing talks, chance to meet the Encode team in person if you haven't already. And yeah, just a great opportunity to connect with people in the same space. So please do secure your spot for that if you happen to be in Denver. And I will also include the link in the chat for that. Again, thank you to everyone that is joining us. I hope that you've really enjoyed this workshop series, and we will be back with more programs. We have boot camps going on now, hackathon. So please do keep up to date with everything Encode related, and would love to see you again at our future events. Thank you everyone, and have a lovely rest of your evening.
Thanks, everyone.
Take care.